Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay in the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast, our second summer session here. I'm Jeff Sharon. Eric Lopez, again, we'll be hearing from Eric in a little bit, but we wanted to dive right in on our second session because this is a guy who many of us in the UCF sports circle, particularly if you follow UCF basketball, have been following for a while. For my money, the greatest basketball player ever to put on the black and gold uniform, Jermaine Taylor. Jermaine, of course, the numbers, speak for themselves in his collegiate career at UCF. He played at UCF from 2005 to 2009 under Kirk Spearai. Actually, Kirk wanted to redshirt him a year, but because of injuries, he had to come right back in immediately. And he was an impact player right from the very start. But his second 2 years at UCF, his junior and senior years, he really stepped it up. He averaged almost 21 points a game as a junior in 2007 to 2008, shot 46% from the field, 37% from beyond the arc, and 79% at the line. But his senior year, 08-09, I remember coming into that season, the anticipation surrounding him, and then he exceeded the hype, averaging 26 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal and a half, and almost a block per game. He just did it all. He had he had several 30-plus point games. He had one 40-point game as well. He shot 48% from the field, 38% from the arc, 81% from the line, and he just put on a show. And we saw the crowds as the year went by, getting larger and larger and larger just for people to come out and see Jermaine because he was really something special. He finished as UCF's all-time leader in Division I scoring. He finished with 10 30-point games, 23 20-point games. He was first team All-Conference USA in 2009, Conference USA Player of the Year in 2009, an honorable mention All-American by the Associated Press. And for those efforts, he found himself in the pool for the NBA draft, and justifiably so. He was picked with the 32nd overall pick in the 2009 NBA draft by the Washington Wizards. And it's worth taking a look at who else went in the 2009 NBA draft. What a draft class this was. Blake Griffin, James Harden, Ricky Rubio, Steph Curry went 7th overall in that draft. DeMar DeRozan of the Toronto Raptors, Drew Holiday, Jeff Teague, Darren Collison, a number of players. Taj Gibson, Damari Carroll went in that draft. A number of players that went through. And Jermaine Taylor was picked 32nd in the second round, early in the second round, by Washington. Then he was immediately traded to the Houston Rockets for cash considerations. He kind of bounced around the D-League, but got his shot with the Rockets, got called up in February of 2010 from the Rio Grande Valley Vipers, and got his first NBA run in 2009-2010. The Rockets then sent him to Sacramento, where he was for 2 seasons, 2010-2011. And then in 2013, he kind of bounced around a little bit. He was waived by the Kings at the end of the 2010-2011 season, signed briefly with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then he kind of went on a little bit of he went around, basically playing internationally for a while. He played in Spain. He played in Tel Aviv, Israel. He played in China. But then he came back to the United States in 2013, late in the 2012-2013 season, after being acquired by the Maine Red Claws. And again, just like we saw in his time in the NBA with the Rockets and with the Kings, and in the D League, when Jermaine Taylor comes on the floor, he's going to score buckets, and he scored buckets in droves in his D League stint with the Red Claws. He reported to the Cavs for training camp. It didn't work out there. The Red Claws took him back in 2013. And then in November of 2013, he suffered a really devastating knee injury. And there were some questions about whether or not Jermaine would come back. Would he be able to be the Jermaine that we all knew and loved from our UCF days? Well, if there's one thing we can do, we know for sure, it's never to count out Jermaine Taylor, because he basically went on this boot camp rehab and fought his way back into the NBA D League in 2014 with the Red Claws. Finished off the season in the 2014-2015 season. He landed in Idaho with the Idaho Stampede in the D League after a trade, and finished the season successfully with Idaho. And it should be noted that when Jermaine was in Maine with the Red Claws, that team was the affiliate of the Boston Celtics. So it's the Celtics who basically sent him over to the Idaho Stampede, which at that time was the affiliate of the Utah Jazz in the NBA D League. They then switched their affiliation, or rather the team relocated from Boise, Idaho to Salt Lake City, where they became the Salt Lake City Stars, and that's where Jermaine was this past season. Last year with Salt Lake City, Jermaine averaged 14.2 points per game, 3.2 rebounds, 1.4 assists, and shot 46% from the field in about 25 minutes per game. He played 45 games for Salt Lake City, which was actually tied for second on the team behind Marcus Page and Sundiata Gaines. And this is a team that Utah has quite a bit of talent in their in what's now the G League, because Gatorade bought the sponsorship to the D League, so they're calling it the G League now. But guys like Brandon Trish, who played at Syracuse. I mentioned Sundiata Gaines, who has gone back and forth between the big club and the G League club for a number of years now. Guys like Marcus Page are out there as well. But for his career in the D League, Jermaine has played 8 seasons in the league. He's averaging 14.2 points, 3.2 rebounds, an assist and a half. His best season in the G League was in 2013 with Maine, when he averaged 24.4 points per game. But even after the injury, has consistently scored in double figures, and his average is actually going up from each year since the injury happened. So the thing that struck me the most about Jermaine in speaking to him is, it sounds cliche to say that there are guys who just love the game. But Jermaine, still to this day, just can't get enough of it. He cannot get enough of basketball. And, for someone who has, the incredible God-given talent that he has had, to also have that work ethic that's gone into it is really something remarkable. And, I do follow, what goes on in the G League. And every once in a while, this past year, you'd see a Jermaine Taylor highlight reel pop up on YouTube. And that explosiveness is still there. But the thing that's amazing, and it's fun to see in those highlights is, you'll look and you'll see that veteran savvy now that Jermaine has. I can remember, sitting underneath that basket, watching him fly for, through the air for dunks that usually landed on my head, and I was just trying to make sure that he didn't land on top of me and turn an ankle or something, and then our whole season would have been toast because of my stupid klutziness. But you could see that he was a guy who was just head and shoulders more talented than everyone else out there on the floor. I mean, it was just obvious. I mean, he was a cheat code out there. if you could think of like a guy that's like, if you could do the Konami code in real life, like you'd get Jermaine Taylor if you were UCF, and to see that talent now fused with, the experience that he has from playing, not just here in the States in the, in a couple teams, different systems, but, also overseas in places like Israel. And he talks about the time that he had in New Zealand, which he really enjoyed. You play that much basketball for a living, and you're going to pick up on some things. And so now we're in the NBA offseason. Free agency is upon us. And Jermaine, once again, is looking for an opportunity to prove himself to the NBA crowd, to give him another shot at a big club. I could think of a few, and particularly one relatively nearby, who could use his level of scoring. But Eric and I reached out to him, and he gave us a call. And he's actually, when we heard from him, it was right before the 4th of July holiday. He was back home in Tavares, getting ready for the off season, working out hard, going back and forth. Actually, he told us between home back in Tavares and UCF's gym to stay in shape for the NBA off season, and just waiting to see how things play out. He's still in very good shape, and we know about his scoring ability and the resume that he's built up. So, without further ado, here are Eric and myself, and number one, Jermaine Taylor. How are you, JT?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for taking time for us out of your summer. I know you said right now you're back home in Tavares, right? And you're working out at UCF. How are things going? How are you feeling?
Yep. Things are going real good. I'm happy to be back. I was injured, a few years ago now, and things are now finally, back to normal. I don't have any more injuries, so now I'm just happy to be back playing, back dunking and just being back to playing the way I used to play. So everything's going real good for me.
We saw you this year with the Salt Lake Stars, who are the D-League affiliate of the Utah Jazz. And,
yep.
We remember, back, when you were coming back off that knee injury that you suffered when you were out in Maine. And
yep.
And we were like, I can remember looking at me, oh my God, I hope he still has the explosiveness. And and from what we were seeing, you still got it. Tell us about the road back and this past year out in Utah and just working out the kinks after that injury.
Well, it was tough. I came back early. I came back in maybe 7 months, and I played with Maine at first, and then I was traded to Idaho Stampede, which is now Utah Jazz Stars. And then I went to New Zealand, and, that season was the first time in my life, people weren't happy with my performance. And it was because I wasn't explosive. I wasn't the JT I remember from college and, my first years in the pro because of the injury. So I never wanted to feel like that again. So I told myself I wasn't going to play until I'm back, all the way healthy. So I took the following season off, and I just rehabbed and worked out and gained just a whole lot of knowledge of, how to maintain my body better and just how to, work out smarter. That was really one of the biggest things that I learned the following summer. And everything, it showed this season. I believe if I would have played for a different team, I probably would have had my best year as a pro. I averaged 14 points in only 22, 23 minutes. And I was doing things that I've never done just because of how, my body is and, just feeling the hard work that I put in, the following summer.
What was the biggest thing you learned? You mentioned that, as you were recovering, you said that helped you be a better basketball player. What was it that you kind of learned on it?
Tons of things. I changed my diet, started eating a lot of fruits and vegetables and just a lot of things from nature. I started training different. I started doing a thing called cryotherapy. It's like you get in a cold tank, like a freezing tank, and it helps heal your body. I started doing 3 deep tissue massages a week. I was doing oxygen therapy. I was doing everything, everything just to, get my body in tip-tape, the best shape that I could possibly be in. And I felt good, the season, like I said.
You're in your 30s now. What's the biggest difference in you as a basketball player between your 20s and now in your 30s?
There's a big difference. Like I'm a lot smarter now. Just like being 30, I'm in my prime now. I feel like the guys I'm competing against are either too young and they don't have enough experience, or they're too old and they're not quick enough. They're not explosive enough. So I feel like I'm in the best, this is just the best time in my life as a basketball player. And a lot of it is just the maturity and just where I am now mentally.
What advice would you give someone like, for example, Matt Williams, who is currently going through Summer League, UCF's own? What advice would you give to guys like him as far as trying to get their opportunities? My advice to him, which I talked to him, I actually talked to him a couple of days ago. And my advice with him was really just to enjoy the whole thing, enjoy the whole process, because I believe that the teams in the NBA, they already know if they're going to keep the guys or not. It's a business. So I believe that they already come into this business with the idea of who they're keeping and who they're not. So I don't believe that there's too much Matt can do. If they like him, I believe they're already going to keep him. If they don't like him, then, that's what it's going to be. So I really just told him just to enjoy the experience and to go out there and leave everything that you have out there, because there are some teams that are looking for players. And if you go out there and you outperform guys and you just give it all and you show teams something that they didn't know that you had, you can do nothing but, benefit you.
I remember when you were drafted, we were out at that restaurant over by that lake. What's the name of that restaurant where we had your draft party?
JJ Finn.
That's right. And we had. Yep. I remember when your name got called initially by the Washington Wizards, and then as I was driving home from that, we find out that you get traded to the Houston Rockets, and so you step on the floor a couple months later for the first time as a Houston Rocket. Tell us, for those of us mere mortals who've never experienced this, what was it like stepping on an NBA court for the first time after the 4 years that you played at UCF? What was that moment like?
It was definitely a dream come true, because from a young age, anytime anyone asks me what do you want to be when you grow up, I've always said an NBA player. And when I was drafted, I kind of got it, but I didn't really understand it. It really didn't hit me until I got to Houston. And then I started working out. I was like, well, I'm really here. But when you step on that court for the first game, the atmosphere, and you just see everything, it was like watching your dreams come true, like, and seeing it. It's kind of hard to explain. It's something that you've always dreamed about as a kid, and now you're living this dream. So it was like I said, it was a dream come true.
I remember the draft night. I was there too with Jeff, and that was wild. Do you remember, obviously, when your name got announced, obviously, what went through your mind? And then when did you find out you were getting traded? Because, was it minutes later? How does that all work?
Well, I had eventually thought that I was going to Cleveland. So I thought that I was going to be the last pick of the first round. So I was, expecting Cleveland to pick me, and everyone at the party was also, because when Cleveland picked, they ended up turning the lights down and put the camera on me, and then they picked someone else. So I was like, oh man. So then I think it was the next pick. My uncle walked up to me. He was like, they're about to call your name. So when he said that, the camera guy heard him, or someone else heard him, and they turned the lights off again because they thought that it was actually going to happen. So I was like, oh, man, my uncle just set me up for a disaster. But then they actually called my name. So I was like, well, so they called my name, everyone's yelling. Like I said, it really didn't hit me right away. It kind of took some time for me to really understand, just what was going on. And then, I was thinking Washington. Like, that's what my mind was. I was like, I don't understand why Washington. I don't even remember having a good workout for them. And then my agent called me. He was like, you've been traded to Houston, so that's where you're going. Like, they paid for the trade, and the Wizards picked you for the Rockets, so you're going there right away. I was like, oh, man. But I was happy either way. I was really just happy just to be, drafted.
As a player, what is, when you're out there on the floor, what is the biggest difference between college competition and NBA level competition?
NBA, there's definitely a lot more space. There's definitely a lot more space, and in the NBA, everyone's an NBA player. You know, everyone's athletic, everyone's fast, everyone can jump, everyone. So the level of competition is just on a whole other level. So that was really something, and it actually came easier for me just because there was so much space, and you know, because I never really had to worry about the guy guarding me. It was always the second defender. And because there was so much space, it made it harder for the second defender to get to me. So, you know, I really, you know, thought it was easy in the NBA.
You, in 2010, 2011, the Rockets moved you to Sacramento, and you got yourself some run. You got, you know, I'm looking back at that year, that year's totals in Sacramento, 26 games, 8 of them starts. And you had you averaged 7.1 a game, but you had several games where you were in double figures. What was it like? You know, it's one thing, you know, when you have a guy who comes out that you see and you know and you know, maybe picks up some garbage time, but you were getting some serious minutes out there. What was explain that environment to us, and how, you know, all of a sudden you're going up against guys like Kobe. You know, you're seeing a couple of other guys that are out there, and you're like, wow, this, you know, what is that? It's hard for me to articulate a question about that. What is that like?
I mean, it was where I always felt I should be. Like when I first got in the NBA, like the things that I was doing at practices, and just, you know, how much more athletic I was than other guards who playing my position. I knew that I could, you know, play in this game, and I know myself. I know my game. I know what type of player I am, so I knew I would excel at this game when given the opportunity. So every time that I got on the court, my whole thing was to show people that this is my game. This is how I play. And if you give me the opportunity, I can do this for you every night. But because of how the NBA is, I was never really allowed to show my game, you know, because I was always told it's a numbers game. And it's not the right situation. And even me playing at Sacramento, the only reason why I played was because Tyreke Evans got hurt. So once he got hurt, my first game, I had 17. The game after that, I had 13, and I only played 20 minutes. The game after that was my best game in the NBA. And I had 21 against the Magic, and I set out the whole fourth. In the game after that, they brought another player in, and then Tyreke Evans got hurt, and I went back to the bench. So even though I was producing and I was doing everything that I could possibly do because of the politics and you know, guys getting back healthy, I went back to the bench and I didn't play anymore. So for the time that I was out there, you know, I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely saw, like, this is, you know, I can do this. But, I mean, unfortunately, just the way things are, I wasn't able to.
I think I remember that game against Orlando, and we were I can remember watching that game saying, oh, my God, there he is. He's out there. He scored 21 points. We're like, that's the Jermaine we know. And, you know, and it would have been, I think that a lesser guy would have, you know, when you talk about the politics of it, would have just said, you know, maybe this isn't for me. But you are still, you still fought out there night in and night out. You got another shot in the D League with the Maine Red Claws, and again, you know, we were seeing each time out there when we saw the highlights how explosive you were out there. The D League guys that are out there, tell us how different about that environment is, because it's a lot of guys like you who are out there scrapping and fighting for that NBA job, right?
Yep, and that's the grind of the D League. That's what a lot of people don't understand. That's why it's hard to play in the D League, because there's a lot of guys who all have the same mindset. I'm trying to set myself up for next year. I'm trying to get NBA. I'm trying to get overseas. So everybody's trying to show what they can do. And, you know, because they're young and because they're unexperienced, everyone's not doing it the right way. Some guys think I have to score, I have to do this, I have to do this. So some teams, you know, a lot of the guys, they're not playing together. So it makes it hard for a person to really show what they can do. But sometimes you get on a good team with just a lot of unselfish players, and those usually are the best teams. But the D League, it's a grind, because just like you say, there's a lot of guys who believe that they should be on another level, and they're trying to get there.
You played in, if I'm not mistaken, I think the count was 7 different countries on 4 different continents. Of all the places outside the United States you played, what was your favorite and why?
My favorite, no doubt was New Zealand. Like New Zealand, just because I really love to take pictures, and it's just a beautiful country. It's one of the only countries, or it's one of the only places that I've been where I was able to take a picture and get the mountains, the oceans, hills, everything all in one picture. And that was big for me. And I also went whale watching out there, so things like that. That was a life-changing experience also. So, and then the people are real friendly. I met some people out there who I'll be friends with for the rest of my life. So, New Zealand, hands down, was one of the best experiences that I had playing ball overseas.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Andrew Fegley.
And I'm Trey Strelko. Where are we? This isn't our usual spot.
It looks like we've landed in the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those guys.
Nightline has UCF sports covered.
Week in and week out, we bring you interviews with newsmakers and in-depth analysis of UCF sports.
Subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to subscribe to Nightline on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at UCF_Nightline.
Trace, can we go back to the 1148 studios now and start working on our next all-new Nightline?
How do we get out of here? Go Knights!
Charge on.
Now back to you guys in the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
All right, thanks again, Andrew and Trace. Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret podcast summer sessions. Let's continue our conversation with Jermaine Taylor.
When you think of your UCF career, what's the first thing that pops in your head?
My UCF career, definitely the best 4 years of my life. Definitely. Not even just because of basketball, but everything else. Just the people that I met, just the good times, the memories that I have, along with the basketball memories. Dave Noel and Lavelle Payne and John Stufford, those guys are my friends till this day. I still talk to them. We talked to Lavelle earlier today, talked to Dave yesterday. And, some of the people that I met, like I said, the connection that I have there, and just even now, I'm still able to go train there, even though there's been 2 different coaches that have coached since I've been there. They still show me the same love and respect that they coach me. And, that's always big. I always feel welcome at UCF. So, it's definitely, something, a blessing for me. It's definitely a blessing.
What'd you think?
What'd you think of the I was going to say what Jeff was going to ask is, what'd you think of this past year with the Johnny Dawkins, his first year? Team makes a run to the NIT Final Four, and your thoughts on Coach Dawkins, former NBA player himself?
Oh, man, he's doing a great job with him. I was actually up there all summer, last summer, and I got to, be around the team. I got to be around the guys, played open gym with them, played open gym with the coaches. I was up there a lot with them, and, I really got to know Coach, and man, he's just a great guy, and the guys love him. The players, they really love him, and that's something that was definitely big, with me, because I believe that if you're playing for someone that you're not happy, playing for, and how can you be a good team? How can you enjoy that college experience? And, just the whole vibe and just everything about UCF basketball now is different.
Did Johnny talk to you about your career as a pro too, and just try to give you some advice from his time in the league?
Yeah, he did. He even called Utah Jazz and talked to Coach Quinn for me. Just put in some good words for me. And we both shared stories and talked about our experience. So.
And that's the thing. The NBA, there's so much talent in basketball that, you've mentioned it, and I agree with. It's about being in the right situation. I think of a young man like Hassan Whiteside, who from obviously started off in Sacramento, and he had to go through different places, and then he found a perfect fit in Miami. Yogi Ferrell brought up to Dallas, and he showed that he could play. It's all really the separation in talent is not that much. It's just really landing on the right opportunity, really, that could be the difference, isn't it?
That's all it is. That's all it's ever been. Because, Hassan Whiteside, he just didn't become that. He's been that. I played with him at Sacramento. I played with him, in college. Same thing with Jermaine Taylor. Like, those players, they've been those players. It's just the way the NBA is. It's hard for guys to get a chance. But when they get opportunity, even my situation, like, I never really played even until like the last, 2 minutes of the game. They put me in garbage minutes, and in 2 minutes I would have eight points. I would have 10 points in 2 minutes. So it's not that I can't play. It's just when you have a guy like Shane Battier, who's been there for years, and Tracy McGrady, who's been there for years, and you have these guys who are getting paid millions. Why are you going to play before them? You're a rookie. You just got drafted. So it's more like you have to sit down, wait your turn, wait for certain things to happen. It's really not, which is sad to me, because I'm a basketball fan. I love the game, and it's hard for me to have to go through what I've gone through only because of, business thing. You know what I mean? Like, I really believe that I could have been a superstar in this league if given the opportunity, because that's what I've been my whole life. If you go down my resume, college, high school, middle school, AAU, I've always been the same type of player. And I showed those same signs with my chances that I got in the NBA. But because of how the league is, I never really got to just really show what I can do. And it's not just me. There's a lot of players like that. There's a lot of players who go through the same thing that I've gone through.
Yeah. We've seen you time and time again, every time you step on the floor, points are going to be scored, and probably in a hurry, too. And, right now we're in the off season. We're coming up on free agency. What is the latest on your situation right now? What are you looking forward to? Where should we look out for with you in the next coming days and weeks?
Yeah, that's tough. I wish you would ask me this maybe in 2 days, because I'm actually meeting up. I signed with a new agent about a week ago, and he was just able to start working with me earlier this week. So he's reached out to teams all this week, and me and him are going to sit down tomorrow, and he's just going to give me the feedback. And, the plan is to just see, what we hear. Any team interested, who's more interested. If not, then I explore my options overseas. The NBA is always the ultimate goal, but I'm 30 now. You know what I mean? Like, so now I have to look at it as set myself up, in the long term. So if, nothing's going off with the NBA, then that's fine. And now it's time for me to take my talents overseas and, and try to, explore what I have over there, from the start. Because I've never played a whole season overseas. It's always at the end of the season when they're trying to make the playoff run or something like that. It's never been I've ever started off with the team.
We talked to you about your UCF time, and Eric asked you that was the one thing that you remember. I just want to ask you, what if I could put you back in one game in your UCF career that you remember the most fondly for your performance? What game would that be?
Definitely had to be, I think, senior night. We were playing, East Carolina?
East Carolina, yeah.
It was a game, it was a game where I scored 36. It was because, like, my whole family was there. Like, some of my family members who've never seen me play in a college game, who never knew that I was, like, the type of player that I was at UCF. Some of them were at the game. And, at halftime, I think I had, like, 6 points or something like that. And then at the end of the game, I had 36. So, that was big for me. Like, even my uncle asked me, like, I looked up and he had like 4 points, and all of a sudden, almost at 40. So that was big for me.
That was a 74-71 win, and I remember that night fondly. And I think we were down if I'm not mistaken, we were probably down double digits late, and then. We were at a point that year where we were just expecting that late game run when you would just take over a game, and you did in that game. It's funny because I grew up a Michael Jordan fan, as did I guess all of us around this age, and I would remember watching on TNT or whatnot. You knew that there was a point where Michael would just take over a game and get into the zone. And I remember watching you. You had then, and I think still do to this day, have that whatever that thing is where you can put yourself in the zone when you need to. Describe the zone for us. Take us there when you're making buckets hand over fist. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? And what are you feeling when you have the ball in your hands like that?
And what you're saying, everything you just said, is why I believe like I would have been a special player in the league, because I have like it's a zone, like it's a certain zone that I go into. I did it a few times, this season.
Yeah.
Where I went off, I had 10 straight buckets. No one else is scoring but me, 10 straight buckets. And what that is just like, that's when I get to a point where I feel unstoppable. Like I know everyone who's guarding me, like they're picking up my vibe. It's just the way I'm moving. Everything just feels like it's in flow. It just feels like, I don't know if it sounds weird, but I just feel like in one with everything, just the flow of the whole game. And then when I get on that level, like I'm really hard to stop, because that's something that I've had my whole life, and I feed off of the energy of the crowd also. But that's something that it just, like, it usually happens after a dunk. If I get a dunk, then anything can happen. Like I could blow up for 10 straight, 12 straight points, threes, layups, turnarounds, every which way. And that's just the type of player I've been, because I've always been a scorer my whole life. So I've always had the other team try to design their defense to stop me. So I faced so many different defenses that I had to develop different ways to score. And that's just been my whole life. So as I got older and older and older, and it kept happening, that's when my game just took a whole other level when it comes to scoring.
You averaged 26 points a game your last year, third in the nation. I'm pretty sure a few NBA teams could use some scoring, Jeff. Wouldn't you agree? Heck, there might be a certain team in near where Jermaine was from that might need some score. But that's a whole other story there. But what kept your passion to play? Because Jeff mentioned all the places you've played. You still, I can tell in your voice, you still have the same passion for basketball that you did when you were at UCF, don't you?
Oh yes, it's never going away, and that's why I'm still playing, because I've always loved the game, like from a young age. Like, as soon as I put a basketball in my hand, even now when I'm walking, like I'll be walking down the halls and I'm dribbling a fake basketball. Or if my family is at the court playing and I walk up to the court, like I'll pick up the ball, and it's hard for me to even stop. Like while they're playing, I'm on one end of the court just shooting around. Just got out of the shower. I don't even want to be sweaty, but now I'm sweaty because I can't stop shooting the ball. And that's how I've always been. Like I love it with everything that I have, and I believe that's why I've gotten to where I've been, and everything that I've every place that I've gone, every level that I've played at, I carry that over, and that's why I'm able to be successful and score the way I am and do the things I do, because I just love the game. Even if I wasn't, like, I turned my life into basketball. Like, I have nothing to train for. Like last summer, I had nothing to train for. I had no job offers, anything coming. But I still, I don't feel right if I don't go to the gym and shoot and play after 2 days. If I go 2 days without touching the basketball, I feel sick. Like, I don't feel right.
It's an addiction, right?
It is.
Yeah. I tell you,
and it's like therapy also, because when I'm going through things sometimes, like I go on the basketball court and it goes away. I don't think about it until I walk off the court.
Well, I know we've, throughout the years, it's always been fun to see you out there, continuing to work hard and continuing to work on that passion. And, a lot of us over here in your UCF family, we still know, we know the extraordinary ability that you still have, and we'll always believe in you, and we know that there's going to be some good things coming around the corner. So tell everyone out here in UCF land how we can stay in touch with you and keep track of you as the off season and the 2017-2018 basketball season gets started.
It's really going to have to be, I guess, through you guys or any of the other interviews I do, because I'm really not on social media networks or anything like that too much. So I could definitely stay in touch with you guys and, everyone else in the Orlando area, just to let them know what I'm doing. And, once I sign with the team or figure out where I'm going, I'll definitely hit you up and let you know, and, spread it that way.
Sounds good, man. Hey, we appreciate you taking time for us. I know you're busy. I know you got workouts you still got to do, but we love you. We miss you. I know you're not that far away, but here's to a successful off season. We'll be seeing you a little bit down the road. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I appreciate you guys having me. I hope all is well with you guys.
Thanks again to Jermaine for giving us the time, and we know how busy his schedule is, and it was really, really kind of him to spend some time with us and to give us an update on him. And you can tell how much he still loves UCF, and how much UCF means to him, and his time at UCF meant to him. And you can tell still to this day, that fire that he has, that competitiveness, that desire to want to prove himself once again at the age of 31 now, that he belongs in the NBA. Of course, I think he does. I think there are some teams that could use his help, across the league, not just in Orlando. And we'll be following him throughout the offseason and into next season and giving you updates here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast as to where Jermaine is and what's the latest news with him. So that'll do it for our second summer session here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. We got another treat coming for you here on our next summer session, and we're going to keep it with the NBA and talk with another UCF player who's trying to make it in the NBA as well. Matt Williams joins Eric Lopez from the NBA Summer League. That's on our next Black and Gold Banneret summer session. Again, don't forget to follow us on blackandgoldbanneret.com. Look us up on Facebook as well. Follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. You can follow me at Jeff_Sharon. You can follow Eric Lopez at Eric Lopez Elo. You can follow Jermaine Taylor as well at JTaylor8Ball on Twitter. And you can also subscribe to this podcast and tell your friends to leave us a rating on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and TuneIn. So for all of us here at blackandgoldbanneret.com, I'm Jeff Sharon saying thanks for listening to our summer session with Jermaine Taylor. Matt Williams is coming up on our next summer session here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.